What if the Star Wars story you grew up with is officially over? Yet the biggest era of Star Wars is only beginning right now? For more than 40 years, Star Wars followed one central bloodline. The Skywalker family defined the fate of the galaxy, shaping heroes, villains, rebellions, or empires across generations. However, after the rise of Skywalker ended in 2019, something unexpected happened. Star Wars stopped releasing movies entirely. For the first time since 1977, the galaxy went silent on the big screen. That pause was not failure. It was a reset. Star Wars, originally, began as a simple trilogy created by George Lucas. A New Hope, released in 1977, changed Hollywood forever, introducing audiences to lightsabers, the Force, or a mythological space opera unlike anything before. The story later expanded into what Lucasfilm calls the Skywalker Saga, a 9-film journey divided into 3 trilogies. The prequels explored Anakin Skywalker's rise or tragic fall into Darth Vader. The original trilogy followed, Luke Skywalker bringing hope back to the galaxy. The sequel trilogy introduced a new generation led by Rey, closing the Skywalker chapter permanently. Across 12 theatrical films, the franchise earned more than $10 billion worldwide, becoming one of the highest-grossing movie franchises ever created. Yet success also created a problem. After Episode 9, fans began asking a difficult question. Where does Star Wars go without the Skywalkers? Disney's answer is simple. Expand the galaxy instead of repeating it. The next theatrical chapter begins with The Mandalorian and Grogu, scheduled for release in May 2026. Instead of continuing only on streaming, Lucasfilm is bringing one of its most successful Disney Plus stories back to theaters. Directed by Jon Favreau, the film continues the journey of Din Djarin, or the fan-favorite Grogu, marking the first Star Wars movie since 2019. This movie represents a major strategy shift. Television storytelling built massive audience loyalty. Therefore, Lucasfilm now plans to connect series narratives into cinematic events, similar to how Marvel builds crossover films. However, that is only the beginning. In 2027, Star Wars Starfighter arrives. Directed by Sean Levy, reports suggest the story takes place several years after the rise of Skywalker, pushing the timeline forward instead of revisiting old eras. Early casting discussions included major Hollywood names, signaling Lucasfilm's intention to launch a fresh generation of heroes rather than relying only on legacy characters. Meanwhile, another film focuses directly on Rey's future. Set roughly 15 years after Episode 9, the story follows Rey attempting to rebuild the Jedi Order from scratch. Instead of being a student, she becomes a mentor figure, guiding a new generation of Force users. This project aims to redefine what being a Jedi means in a post-Skywalker galaxy. At the same time, director Dave Filoni is developing a crossover film connecting stories from The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, or other New Republic-era series. The goal is a large-scale event bringing multiple characters together into one climactic narrative. Yet perhaps the most ambitious project travels backward instead of forward. Director James Mangold is developing a film set 25,000 years before A New Hope, exploring the origin of the Force itself. Described as a biblical-style epic, the story examines how Jedi beliefs first began, transforming Star Wars from family drama into ancient mythology. Another project led by Taika Waititi promises a completely different tone. Known for humor mixed with emotional storytelling, Waititi aims to introduce entirely new characters, proving Star Wars can evolve beyond familiar icons. Even more surprisingly, Lucasfilm is reportedly planning a brand new trilogy written by Simon Kinberg, potentially becoming the next major saga after the Skywalker era. Unlike previous trilogies, this one may build an entirely original storyline, disconnected from past characters. Not every idea survived development. Multiple projects were cancelled or reshaped over the years, including spin-offs centered on Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi as a film, or several experimental trilogies. These changes reveal how carefully Lucasfilm now approaches theatrical releases after mixed reactions to earlier entries. The strategy today focuses on patience. Studio leadership confirmed new films will release only when ready, following longer development cycles, similar to James Bond movies rather than yearly releases. This slower approach may actually save Star Wars. Because Star Wars was never only about spectacle, it was always about myth, legacy, or generational storytelling. Each era reflects its audience's fears or hopes. The original trilogy represented rebellion. The prequels explored political collapse. The sequels examined identity or belonging. The upcoming era asks a new question. What does the galaxy look like when legends are gone? Instead of one chosen family controlling destiny, future stories explore countless perspectives across the universe. Smugglers, pilots, Jedi students, survivors, explorers. The galaxy becomes larger again. For longtime fans, this moment feels uncertain. Familiar characters appear less frequently. New timelines may feel risky. However, risk is exactly how Star Wars began in 1977. A strange space fantasy almost nobody believed would work became a cultural phenomenon that shaped modern cinema. Now Star Wars stands at another turning point. The Skywalker Saga ended. The Force, however, is far from finished. The real question is not whether Star Wars will continue. It is whether the next generation of stories can create legends powerful enough to stand beside the originals.